I've had quite a rise in my career, going from, kind of being the security guard at a social security office to the CEO of a nonprofit organization. I created a system here to help people who are working at a very high level be able to get what they want out of their lives instead of just working themselves absolutely to the bone. Their family's upset with them. When you're in that position, you can feel the health kind of like draining out of your body. What would it be like for you if you could take the incredible prowess that you already know about your business and maybe get some new insights about things that you need to do and places that you need to go? You can literally expand your mind. Travel different roads that you are not accustomed to traveling.
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nikki Ballou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou, and boy, do we have an exciting guest lined up for you today. Today's guest is a true expert in the world of therapy, marriage, and family. He is someone with a long history of creating tremendous results with people in these areas. I am speaking, of course, of none other than the one, the only, the legendary Jeremy Van Wert. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
So fantastic. I'm not sure that I've had like a stadium announcement like that yet on a podcast, and so I'm really appreciative.
You bet. So Jeremy, you and I know each other well. We do some work together, and the folks who listen to this podcast, they don't listen to it for me. I'm here every week. They listen to it because they want to learn from you. They're entrepreneurs themselves. They're thought leaders. They're thinkers, and they really want to get to know you and what you have to say. But before they can do that, they gotta feel like they're connected to you. And the best way for them to do that is for you to tell us your backstory. How'd you get to be the great Jeremy Van Wert?
Oh my gosh. So I've had quite a rise in my career, going from, kind of being the security guard at a social security office to the CEO of a nonprofit organization. Working my way up through the years, I became a licensed therapist around the late aughts and started doing the work and worked for a large hospital system in California, and then found really by accident that much of the way that I was helping people wasn't really doing any good for them, because a lot of big systems, they really just kind of keep track of statistics. Can we keep these people out of the emergency room instead of actually helping them thrive? And one of the things that I came upon was psychedelic medicine, plant-based psychedelic medicine, as a means of helping people not only overcome trauma, overcome depression and anxiety and symptoms of ADHD, but also as a way to help people's minds actually expand. And this medicine has become more and more popular over the last couple of years as people have started to understand a little bit more about it. And I not only work in the world of psychedelics, but I work in the world of really what business people want and need. And that is, okay, great, spirituality, fine. Tell me the road for how it is that I need to get where I need to go. We set goals, we explore values, we set up KPIs, and so that people with their own lives can start living the highest version of themselves. And and your question was, how did I come to be this? So I was the CEO of a nonprofit organization, and I was doing 80-hour work weeks, just absolutely working myself into the grave. And it was so incredibly hard. And I was not connected with my friends, not connected with my family, not connected with my own spirituality. And even though I was doing all of this fantastic work for the system itself, I was not fulfilled. I was not going the direction that I wanted to go in my life. And so I created a system here to help people who are working at a very high level be able to get what they want out of their lives instead of just working themselves absolutely to the bone. They come home, their family's upset with them, their family doesn't feel like they are relating to them, that they don't know them as well as they should. And that they can feel, when you're in that position, you can feel the health kind of like draining out of your body. You don't sleep well. You aren't eating good, nutritious food. You don't have time for exercise. And so actually setting that up as a measurable thing in your life is something that I wasn't doing. I had all of this knowledge from being a therapist and a coach and all of this sort of thing. But when it came my time to actually do this stuff while I was a CEO, there's nobody there that was holding me accountable to actually caring for me. Nobody holding me accountable to stay healthy, to have the boundaries with my work, to not answer calls at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night that are not urgent calls. And so what I do is I take the understanding of my own anguish when I was a CEO, and I help people avoid that kind of burnout.
Wow. That is a fabulous backstory. So there's a lot to unpack here. I want to dive into psychedelics. So there's a lot of stigma around psychedelics. Tell me, why are psychedelics so controversial, and why are so many people attracted to psychedelics as a form of therapy?
Okay, two very different questions here. And the history lesson on this is actually quite fascinating. So in the late 1950s and 1960s, we of course had this kind of budding, social political upheaval in our country where we had the elite government class were wanting the United States to be the purveyor of the fighting of communism throughout the world. And what was happening is there was this influx of young people, the boomers generation, that were using this medicine that was making them go, I'm not going to go and fight your stupid war that doesn't have anything to do with my own neighborhood and my own community. And these young people were, in essence, taking their draft notices and burning them, throwing them out, moving to Canada, saying, I'm not going to do this. And they were being incredibly non-compliant. And so this came at a time when, the kind of, Christian conservative right, if you will, the version of it at the time was very, very patriotic and very, very afraid of the kind of communist hordes invading the United States. And so anything that would stand between this unifying concept of patriotism was a real problem for the control that the elites needed to have over the minds of young people who really just simply needed to put helmets on and go and fight the wars that they were told to fight. And so among other drugs that there were at the time, the mind-expanding ones like LSD, mescaline, magic mushrooms, these different ones were kind of put in the same schedule as things like cocaine and heroin and these different things. And the war on drugs through the mid-1970s through the late 1980s, it all got lumped into the same thing and the same schedule of drug. And it all became highly marginalized. Now, the problem with this is that we're talking about medicine that helps you actually change consciousness, that helps you get into different dimensions that you can explore yourself in. These things don't make you eat babies or some strange thing like this. These things have been around in many, many cultures for many, many hundreds of thousands of years that have helped people be able to commune with the spirit and to get into a greater understanding of themselves as human beings. But it makes people less controllable in a very regimented society, which is kind of what we are here. So what is the fascination now with the psychedelics, which is the second part of your question? And it is that the concept of, is there more to my life than going to work and coming home and maybe playing some pickleball at the end of the day? Is there more than this straight line? Because number one, we're not feeling like we're making it. We're not feeling like we're able to pay the rent or whatever the thing is. People feel that is not really happening for them in their lives. But people are kind of waking up to, our lives feel so cardboard. Even when we've done everything that we have been told to do, our lives seem so flat. And is there some kind of way that I can get in touch faster with my spirit that doesn't cost me all of the money to go sit on a mountaintop in Tibet or go to India for some length of time, to find the real spirit deep inside of me? And these medicines, be it MDMA or psilocybin or ketamine or any of these things, can help people get in touch with that. And the research that is continuing to be done about what psychedelics does for people who are struggling with a trauma, sexual trauma, violent trauma, these sorts of different things, or war trauma, these kinds of things, is that this medicine has the potential to lift you outside of yourself so that you can turn around and look at yourself with love and compassion, and to rethink what your actual foundational ideals are, what your actual value actually is. Now, you don't have to have been some kind of war trauma veteran to do this. This is something that is really available for anybody. Ketamine is federally legal and should be done with a professional that is trained, like me, and is something that can help people actually exist in a state where they don't feel the stress and the state of anxiety that they have developed through their lives, through the various things that have happened to them. It lifts you outside of your current assembled identity, and it helps you kind of reset what you actually think of you, helps you open your heart space and connect. Now, why would this be important to people who are entrepreneurs, people who are business people who are leaders? Look, we all get stuck in a rut. We all churn on the same ideas after time. We all get caught in the perfunctory performance of our lives. And if we can get something that can increase the level of thoughtfulness, mindfulness, creativity. Our iPhones were created by Steve Jobs and his buddies sitting in an attic taking LSD because they started thinking about the technology in a completely different way. And what would it be like for you if you could take the incredible prowess that you already know about your business and maybe get some new insights about things that you need to do and places that you need to go? That is what is fueling this incredible influx of interest into this. And wonderful books like Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind is informing people in wonderful ways of what it is that this medicine can do for them, not just what they do for a living, who you are at your essence, how you love and relate to the people around you. Are you estranged from people in your life because maybe your ego needs to be adjusted? Are you in a space where it's time to let go of old wounds that are just simply standing as roadblocks in your life? People are looking for a way to let go and forgive and move on, shed old weight, and expand their mind into greater possibilities. That's what's fueling all of this incredible interest in psychedelic medicine.
So what are the potential health side effects of taking psychedelics?
Oh, fantastic. So psychedelics aren't necessarily for everybody. And people who have hypertension, people who have issues with their blood pressure, these kinds of things should be a little bit more careful. And when people are being evaluated as to whether or not ketamine is something that's good for them, they're evaluated by a nurse or a doctor, and it said, do they have, what kind of medicines are they on? So where this medicine will not interfere with some of their issues that they may already have. Now, I think the deep question that people have is this going to screw my brain up?
Yeah.
I've heard of things where people have gone psychotic, people have gone crazy. The great Syd Barrett of Pink Floyd is known to have lost his mind. And it is largely credited to he took too much drugs. And, the problem with somebody like Syd Barrett is that this poor, incredibly talented young man was putting every single thing possible in his body at the same time. And his mind and his body was not able to keep up with what it was that was happening. And if you have a family history of psychosis, major delusional disorder, or things like that, this is really not the medicine for you. But is this going to take my perfectly good brain and break it? No. It's not going to do that. What it's going to do, imagine your neural pathways. These are little roads in your mind, okay? And we tend to travel the same interstates every day of our lives. We make the same coffee, we fold the same laundry, we do the same things. And it's kind of ingrained in how we repeat our daily lives. What this does is it connects all of these different roads in your mind that you don't often travel. And this is called neuroplasticity. You then can see all of these roads. And if you do the right kind of integration, which is journaling afterwards, talking about your experience, you can literally expand your mind. Travel different roads that you are not accustomed to traveling. And so is it going to break your brain? No. Is it going to expand the way you think and open up new opportunities? Yes. Can you overdose on mushrooms? Well, if you eat 75 pounds of them at the same time, maybe, but your stomach would burst first. And so the concept of is this going to tremendously hurt me in terms of the drugs that are the illegal drugs that are out there on the market, when you're talking about methamphetamine, fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, these other heavier ones, you're in greater danger, certainly with any of those, than something as quite frankly, mostly harmless as a psychedelic, specifically plant-based medicine.
For myself, my family history, I've never done any drugs, and I don't plan on doing any types of drugs. So psychedelics isn't really something I'm looking at personally for me at all. But I'm wanting to engage in this conversation, for people in the audience, listeners, because there's folks that are dealing with issues that I've heard psychedelics can deal with way more effectively than conventional pharmaceutical drugs, and certainly any of the drugs you're talking about that are, Schedule A narcotics. And I spoke with someone a couple years back. I think his name was Daniel Carcillo. He was an ex-NHL player, and he was talking about people that had gone through PTSD. And he said psychedelics are really good for helping people that are dealing with PTSD to overcome the negative effects of PTSD. So if someone was in a space where they were in a war zone, they saw people killed, or a friend of mine who was present when our business landlord was killed, this could be a good therapeutic option for him. And I'm interested in having controversial topics like this brought on the show, because this is going to help my listener evaluate whether this is something they want to explore for themselves.
So specifically with combat trauma, that trauma is just absolutely ingrained in the self-concept of those people who have had to go through something like that. Now imagine you're walking around in this world. You're back in the civilian world, and at night. So my grandfather, he fought on Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima. And for the next 15 years when he got back, and he had been in the thick of everything. He had done awful things. For the next 15 years, he would wake up screaming several nights a week, and my grandmother would have to turn the lights on and show him that there were no Japanese soldiers in the hallway or outside the windows or under the bed or anything like this. And it was replaying in his mind over and over that he was never safe, that they were going to find him, and that they were going to get him back for what he had done in these places. And many of these combat veterans, they come home, and for the last 50 years, there hasn't been nearly enough help for these people. Imagine these people who have this, they're wearing this heavy vice of, it's my fault. I did terrible things. I killed people. I couldn't save my fellow soldiers. I failed at everything. People praise me for being a veteran, but they don't know what I did. And I don't even know what it was for. Imagine wearing all of that, but then being able to step outside of that for the first time in your, since you had that experience, to step outside of it and maybe look back at yourself and just see yourself, this crying child, this hurt child, and be able to comfort that child inside of all of that shame and that grief and that self-blame and all of these things, and to be able to flip the script and become a healer to yourself, to love yourself, to connect with what we could call the spirit or pure source, heal your heart. That is something that Prozac cannot offer. Prozac can help numb you out, but a medicine like MDMA, which has been studied specifically with combat veterans, is something that can help open the heart space and help these people with complex PTSD be able to begin healing their symptoms. And their symptoms might be that they get in a lot of fights at gas stations, that they can't sleep through the night, that they can't have normal conversations because they have these intrusive thoughts. To be able to let these things go for the first time and actually feel real love, real connection with their spirit for the first time since their spirit kind of got extinguished in a war zone, which is a tremendously common thing for war veterans to experience.
Yeah, I think this is way better than Prozac. I mean, drugs like Prozac have some known side effects that they can turn people into rageaholics. And Phil Hartman's wife was on this type of drug, and she ended up killing him and herself. And I believe that the man who killed my landlord was on this type of drug, and he ended up killing my landlord, the woman that was with him, and himself. And I'm wondering, if you think that businessmen and women who are on these types of drugs should seriously consider psychedelics as an alternative.
Here's why I think that psychedelics pose such an incredible benefit to people that are struggling with either PTSD, depression, anxiety, these different things. Whether you're talking about Prozac or any of the other SSRIs, you're talking about medicine that is going to help numb and narrow your emotional feelings and expression. Are these things good for getting you from, suicidality to stability for, in a quick way over a couple of weeks? Yeah, they definitely are. They can help stable you out. However, where does the healing come in? That's something that the Western medical system has not yet conquered. The concept of how do we actually come to a sense of healing ourselves and our spirit. I absolutely love the Western medical model because When I had a broken collarbone, they knew exactly what to do for me. When my father went in with heart issues, they knew exactly what to do, and they were absolutely fabulous for him. But when we're talking about the psyche, we're talking about ourselves as spiritual beings. And when we're talking about people who are business owners, people who are entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs, business owners, you have to be creative, you have to be inventive, you have to move quickly, you have to really be in touch with yourself and what it is that your business really needs. You got to operate with that sixth sense. And so when you take the expression of emotion and you shove it down into this and you insert some of the things that you're talking about, maybe some symptoms of rage, maybe some symptoms of anger and aggression and stuff like that, that's never good for really anybody. Imagine if you could come to a place where you are okay with yourself, where you feel like you don't need to depend upon a medicine to numb you out. You can work on your spirit and actually come to a place where you can use the full emotional expression that you were built to have in order to help you be creative and continue building your business. What if there are thoughts that you don't know that you're not having because you're kind of numbed out on an SSRI? And I'm obviously, as a licensed professional, I have to say here, I'm not telling anybody to do anything that their doctor has not ordered them to do. And also, there are many options for the treatment of pain, for the treatment of and I'm talking about emotional pain here, anxiety and feelings of being overwhelmed, difficulties with focusing, and letting go of old things that have haunted your psyche in your dreams and in your heart for many, many years.
Yeah. I appreciate you bringing this conversation to me because it's making me think. And, you and I have talked about thought leadership and how one of the things that I've strongly suggested to you is to really have you put yourself out there as a thought leader in your space, to be seen as the go-to authority when it comes to the things that you're an expert in. Because I believe that's going to give you greater fulfillment. I believe that's going to bring you a lot more clients to work with, a lot more money, and all that good stuff. And a big part of thought leadership is you have to think through the issues that are important to you, but also to the people that you intend to serve, right? Thought leadership begins with thinking. I don't think someone who goes and posts a lot of shit on social media should call themselves a thought leader. You're not a goddamn thought leader. You're just a poster. You're someone who does post storms, and you probably post things that are inane, asinine, not very valuable. Just shit that's going to sound good and look good. That's what a lot of people do. And they got a lot of followers, and they go, okay, well, he's the thought leader because he had a lot of followers. That is a very small part of being a thought leader. A much bigger part of being a thought leader is having done the difficult work of thinking through how to serve the people that are in pain. And I commend you for really taking on the thinking part of this very effectively, Jeremy. And so I have a question around this. What has this made you passionate about bringing this message out into the world? Why is it important for you to do right now?
So I'm going to connect these two things because in my corporate life, when I was pursuing high positions, I got my first master's degree and I got the clinical license for that. And then that wasn't enough. And I got an MBA and then I became a CEO. And the level of fulfillment in my life, it wasn't there. What was missing? And what was missing was really the development of the spirit in what I was doing. What am I really about? And so I have pursued all of the knowledge that would make somebody a successful person in their career, and it still wasn't quite enough. I really wanted to, I'm built to help people access the highest versions of themselves. Yeah. And I had to discover that in me first, because I work with people who are attorneys and doctors, high-level professionals, all these different people, right? And they're dealing with the same kind of issues that other people are dealing with. It's just that they have nicer cars. And they're still dealing
That's
with
funny,
loneliness.
man. That's good.
They're dealing with loneliness. They're dealing with issues with their spouses. They're dealing with this same stuff. And so the pursuit that I have followed here is in helping these people be able to balance their lives, and so that they feel that they're living the greatest version of themselves. Why? Because I deal with people who are working all year long, all through their weekends. They take a week of vacation to some beautiful place every year, take a lot of selfies and put it up on social media. And they come home and they haven't really been on vacation because they've been thinking about work the whole time. They've been answering emails, sometimes on the sneak. They go to the restroom and they, what kind of email have I got and everything like that, because their minds are fully occupied. Their identity is built around something that is not centered on what is making them emotionally, physically, and spiritually well. They're drinking coffee all day. They're drinking alcohol so that they can go to sleep. On the weekends, they're binging on alcohol so that they can actually relax. And they're medicating to wake themselves up, medicating to put themselves asleep. And at the base level of it, they don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They don't feel strong. They feel overworked and disconnected from others. And so one of the things that I do in my coaching is we don't just deal with, let's talk about spirituality. We deal with, what are the goals? What are the things that you actually want out of your life? Let's set professional goals. Let's set personal goals. Let's set relationship goals, and let's set spiritual goals. Let's get all of those things out there, and so that we're starting to rebalance what your life actually is about. What your whole life is about, not just simply the incredible, wonderful success that you have had in your work. How are the other things in your life struggling, and what the hell are you going to do about it? Because you can make more money, and you should, but that's not going to heal your heart. It's not going to get rid of old sexual trauma. It's not going to help you connect better with your wife or your husband. It's not going to create the sense that you are living the life that you were truly born to live. Too few people actually pursue that sort of thing. And so my goal and my mission is to help people get in touch with that, and so that at the end of a week they can go, I feel really good with who I have been on the planet this week. I feel good about who I am.
That's excellent. So, Jeremy, how do people get a hold of you?
Yes. So mindfulmutiny.com, mindfulmutiny.com. The concept of mindful mutiny is that you are bucking the status quo to live the highest version of you. Mindfulmutiny.com. It shows my podcast on there. I have a new book called There Is More, and it's several stories of my life.
Cool.
About transcending and rising above. All of these things are on my website, and you can make an appointment to just have a chat with me. I'd love to chat with you about how we could work together to make you start enjoying every aspect of what you do.
So mindfulmutiny.com, pick up a copy of There Is More, and jump on a call with you by going on the website to set that up. Okay, awesome. So Jeremy, we end each episode by doing something rapid fire, bullet point, like 15 words or less. what are your top 3 expert action steps, the best pieces of advice you have for people to get to that highest and best version of themselves? Go.
Okay, number 1, you need to have goals. You need to have strategy to get there. You need accountability. You need somebody to help you not only develop those goals, think around those goals, but also hold you accountable so that you're actually doing all those sit-ups in the morning. The second thing is, where is your spirit? And I'm not just simply talking about religion. I'm talking about who were you born to be? Who were you born to be in your family? Who were you born to be in this world? And the next thing is, how are you becoming a legend in your family life? Do people look up to you? And if not, why not? And what are you doing to help yourself be the kind of person that other people can look up to and revere and respect? And when you speak, people listen. So those are the kinds of things, removing roadblocks from old stuff that are keeping you locked where you are. Those are the kinds of things that can help people get where they want to be.
Yeah, these are really good. I like them. I like the last one especially. It's a question to ask yourself. How are you becoming a legend? I think that's very powerful. Jeremy Van Wert is the real deal. Folks, go to his website, mindfulmutiny.com, jump on his calendar, buy his book, and make sure that if you got something good out of this, you leave us a like, a rating, a review. When you do this, it helps us with the algorithms and helps more people find us. So make sure that you do this. And Jeremy, it's been a pleasure having you on today, bro.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak on your platform.
Yeah, you bet. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. To find out more about today's guest, the one, the only, the legendary Jeremy Van Wert, go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or wherever you happen to listen to this episode, be it iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Audible, YouTube, Rumble, or what have you. Until next time, bye-bye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.